If one day you unexpectedly time travel back to the Eastern Front of World War I, a land of freezing forests, starving villages, and soldiers who shoot first, ask later. Like a pawn on the chessboard, what would you do to survive? It sounds hopeless, but here are ways you can make it through. And at the end of the video, there's a stunning survival method you won't believe. In our last video, we tackled the deadlock on the Western Front. This time, let's plunge into the chaotic Eastern Front. The first way is to hide amidst the bullets. After some research, you discover that the Eastern Front is incredibly chaotic, with armies constantly on the move. So, you decide to disguise yourself as a civilian in the villages behind the front line. You choose a remote rural area in the eastern part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire to hide. At first, your life is quite peaceful. You grow vegetables, catch fish, and learn the local language to communicate with the villagers. You worry little about the war, as the Germans and Austro-Hungarians are doing well on the front lines. But soon, you realize that the battlefield is becoming increasingly brutal, with dwindling troop and food supplies. The war encroaches upon your village. One fine day, your village is raided by German soldiers. Your crops are stolen, and many people are forcibly conscripted. You wisely hide at the edge of the forest and luckily escape. However, you know you cannot continue like this forever, so you and some besties go deeper into the forest to hide. Suddenly, you encounter a group of Russian soldiers lying in ambush. As mentioned, Russians shoot first, ask later. They kill some of the people with you. You quickly hide behind a big tree, but still get wounded in the thigh. The gunfire subsides, but more Russian soldiers arrive. In a dire situation, you are forced to raise the white flag. You stand up. Dressed in civilian clothes, the Russians seem more open, but still wary of spies. They ask you many tense questions in Russian, then in Polish. Fortunately, you had learned some Polish beforehand, so you use all your wits to convince them that you are a Polish civilian fleeing the war. Eye to eye, beads of nervous sweat must be restrained. You and the Russian commander stare at each other. One wrong answer, and you will die. Finally, with your tattered appearance, resolute spirit, and of course, no weapons, you are released by the Russians. After that incident, you hide meticulously in the forest like a ghost. You know that everything will end in 1918, and that day is approaching. But reality is always harsh. The winter of 1916, with its freezing -20 degrees, no food, no warm clothes, under the intense battlefield, you are about to die in the nameless forest. But no, just like in the confrontation with the Russian soldiers, your survival instinct awakens. You skillfully move between villages, gathering essential supplies. Disguised as a civilian, anxious because a single soldier passing by could mean death. Because of being brave, you finally survive until 1918, and when the Russians retreat, you succeed. The second way is to be a great supporter. The Austro-Hungarian and Russian armies are both multi-ethnic forces. You quickly learn a bit of Slavic before being conscripted. Standing before the strict commander, you give it your all to be chosen for a logistics role. Carrying a 50 kilograms ammunition box for 10 kilometers? Your muscles nearly burst. Moving artilleries? You strong like Hulk. One day, your rear lines are attacked by artillery. Shells rain down from the sky. Amidst the crumbling buildings, you hide in the alleys. Children cry, soldiers fall, and the elderly despair in small rooms, all right in front of you. Seeing many injured people, you dash out to rescue them like an angel. You saved many lives, both civilians and soldiers. As a result, you are promoted and gain a voice in the army. One day, you hear that a unit has been ambushed and needs a new cook. You volunteer and are accepted. Cooking isn't too difficult, as your mother was always strict when you did housework. But logistics is always a vulnerable position. One winter day in 1916, under the white snow, an enemy unit surrounds and attacks you. With only light equipment, your team is quickly defeated. You hide in the corner of the tent, unable to flee like before because you are wearing a uniform. Panicked, you remember a classic survival trick from movies. You pull a comrade's corpse over you, holding your breath and pretending to be dead, hoping the enemy won't find you. The bayonet is only a few centimeters away, but you keep your eyes open. Luckily, your own troops arrive just in time to break the siege, and you survive. Just like that, until 1918, you succeed. The third way, promoted to queen. Do you think you're just a pawn because the video title says so? You were always fascinated by war and battlefield, and your fighting spirit has never stopped. Besides, with time travel, there's no family to hold you back. When you decided to risk it all, you chose the position of a messenger, the most dangerous role on the Eastern Front. You run in front of enemy guns like the Flash. Although real war is much more brutal than battlefield, you can fully use those experiences to survive. Thousands of telegrams are sent, and you still survive. However, one time, being overconfident, you get ambushed. The enemy commander questions you intensely, with many questions leaving you nearly out of excuses. However, they can't kill you because you swallowed the important telegrams when captured. Knowing this, just like how you used to deceive your teacher when you didn't do your homework, you tell the truth, but only half of it. You speak in despair as if you were a traitor, and they believe you. One night, you guide hundreds of enemy soldiers into a base, and they rush forward like they've struck gold. But awaiting them are the ever-alert trenches of the strongest regiment, and they're all mowed down under a hail of bullets. And they even don't realize that because your comrades are too good at fast aiming. You take advantage of the chaos and the accumulated skills from being a messenger to escape and successfully make it back to the rear lines. Your commander's suspicion fades fast. There are bigger problems to deal with, and you've already tied up every loose end. Just like that, until 1918, you survive successfully. Whether you choose the Russian, German, or Austro-Hungarian side, your story is etched into history. Finally, you realize that no matter what you choose, to live in obscurity or to rise to glory, you and other soldiers are just small pawns on the brutal chessboard of war. If you have crazy ideas or more interesting survival methods, don't hesitate to leave a comment below. And don't forget to hit subscribe button.